Hello friends, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Elise, and this is my mystical bookshelf. And today, I have another non-Sarah Dessen book review. I'm kind of putting that series on hold for a minute because I've been slacking, unfortunately, and I am currently reading Lock and Key, and I'm only on page 59, and this is a really long Sarah Dessen book. I was gonna have to read it eventually, but like, I should have started with the shorter ones first, so I could kind of just churn them out, but you know, it's fine. Life happens. I'll get it done eventually. I'm gonna have to cut out some of my Hello Kitty Island Adventure playtime so I can actually read, because I've been playing that a lot, and that's kind of been taking up most of my time. It only came out January 30th, and I'm like obsessed. I don't know if anybody plays it, but like, it's really fun. And I might do a video review on that. I don't know. I don't normally review video games, but I really like Hello Kitty Island Adventure. It kind of feels like Animal Crossing, but a little more involved. But yeah, so that's kind of been taking up my time with reading. But thankfully, I can still listen to books while I'm at work. So I've been doing that, so that's good. So my next book, well, this is more of a book series. My next book series I'm going to talk about, and I'm doing this new thing where I'm going to try and cut in a picture instead of holding up like my phone, because I'm recording with my phone, and I used to record with my husband's phone. So yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm using my own phone now, so I can't show you the book I'm reading. So I'm going to try and take a screenshot of the book series and like plop it in here. I don't know how that's going to work because I'm not very video edit savvy, but we'll see. It should have worked with my last video because I did that for Wings of Starlight too. But this book series is from Audible, and it's not an Audible original, but it's available on Audible with your membership, so you don't have to use credits on it. And right now I think it's books 1 through 5 that are available, and the first book is called A Lady's Guide to Mischief and Murder. It's either that or it's a Lady's Guide to Etiquette and something, but it's by Diane Freeman. That's all you need to know, really, is by Diane Freeman. I'm going to put a picture of it in here, so hopefully that will... I'm going to try and, like, do a collage so I can show all the books in succession, because I read the whole book series. Those were my main books for February, is that whole book series, because it was so lighthearted, and it's sort of like Bridgerton, but like, it's romancy, but not as romancy, and it's kind of got a murder mixed in with it, so it's really, I don't even know what to call it. It's like a romance murder series. It's really good. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't really sure what to start listening to because a lot of my books, I've like flown through all the book series that I've started. I think I'm all caught up on the Vampire Knitting Club, so I haven't been listening to that. And there was another book series that I started that none of the books are available without credit now, so I haven't been into that. But I didn't know what book series to start next, and I kind of just stumbled across this randomly. But it basically follows Frances, and she is a countess. She married into this title, and her husband gets murdered, and that's how the first book starts off. So the first book is like, hit the ground running, your husband got murdered, and her husband's kind of a douchebag because he cheats on her a lot. So it's not like I hate to say that, but it's not like sad that he died. Like, Frances isn't like upset necessarily, which is really kind of horrible, but whatever. It's just a book that's not to be taken too seriously. So honestly, I think it's kind of satire at times. That kind of feels like satire. That type of I'm not sad that my husband died. Ooh, that feels like satire to me. So, but yeah, her husband's name was Reggie, and he was a count of something, and he got murdered, and he was in the arms of his lover when he was murdered, so that was kind of weird. And his lover's name was Alicia, and Alicia is like younger than Francis, and it's so weird. It makes me feel old because it takes place in like the 1800s, and back then it was like Francis is 27 and I'm 28, so it's like you're not old, obviously. But back then, it was like Francis thinks she's old, and I'm like, but girl, you're younger than me. You're not old. I'm old. Jeez. So yeah, Frances is 27, so she's a widow, and she has a daughter with Reggie, and her daughter's name is Rose. And Rose is she's cute. I like Rose. She's not a super prominent character in the book series, but she's prominent enough. There's like a whole cast of characters that are always in the books, and Rose is one of them. There's also George, who ends up being Frances's new love interest, and this book is so weird because it starts off like Alicia is freaking out that Reggie died, and she thought, I think she was still in bed with him when he passed away, and she was like freaking out, and she went to go get Francis, and then that's how Francis found out that he was cheating on her, which I thought was super weird. And this whole book series is a trip, man. You gotta really go into it thinking this isn't serious, like none of it's serious. I was pretty much laughing while listening to it, really, because it's pretty funny and witty. I like the way Diane Freeman writes. And, oh my gosh, I just remembered this. It's narrated by Sarah Zimmerman. And my homegirl, I love listening to her because she, if you had listened to the Vampire Knitting Club, she plays Lucy in the Vampire Knitting Club, and now she plays Frances. And the Countess of Harley, that's the series as a whole, the Countess of Harley. And so yeah, now she plays Frances, and I love Sarah Zimmerman. She's one of my favorite narrators to listen to. She's so calming. She has a great voice. I love her so much. I like listening to narrators that I'm comfortable with. It feels like listening to an old friend, honestly, which I really like. And so yeah, so that starts off with Alicia and Frances finding out that Reggie was murdered, and honestly, it's so weird because they had to hide the body, and I'm like, what is going on? So that's how George gets introduced to the story too, is because Frances is like, I don't know who to ask, I don't know who to trust, I'm gonna ask George, because she knew George somehow. And so George helps Frances and Alicia hide Reggie's body, and I don't know how everybody else finds out about the murder, but yeah, this first book was so, like, looking back on it, it was really unserious. Like, I don't even know how I took any of this seriously, because I was listening to it and I was like, wow, this is scandalous. And then I'm like, it's really not that serious. I like it. And I think the best part of this book series is it's like, it takes place in like London society, so it's kind of like Bridgerton that way. And I really like how it's like mainly first world problems. That's basically what this book series is first world problems, like back in the 1800s, which is really funny to me. Like, everyone is taking everything so seriously and it's so dramatic, but I know that it's not serious, and it's really funny. So book one is basically Frances trying to figure out who murdered her husband, and I think someone wants to murder her too, which I thought was wild, because Frances inherited a lot of money from her dad, and that's the only reason why Reggie married her, is because he didn't have a lot of money, but he had this title, which doesn't really make any sense to me. It's like, if you have this title, why aren't you rich? But whatever. So yeah, so we meet them, and we try and figure out the murder, and it was wild. It was a wild twist. Like, this book took you all over the place with twists and turns, and I thought it was really interesting. And in the end, if it ended up being Francis's sister-in-law, Delia, and I thought it was going to be Graham, personally, because I didn't like Graham. And Graham and Delia are Francis's in-laws, and I think Graham is Reggie's brother. I'm pretty sure Graham is Reggie's brother, so I thought it would have been interesting if Graham had killed his own brother, because that would have been wild. But yeah, it ended up being Delia in the first book, and Delia wanted to kill Francis too so she could have her money. But that didn't end up happening, obviously. And then Francis is like confronted with Delia and tries to stop Delia, but Delia ends up killing herself too, which I thought was interesting. So that first book, it was really like fast paced and you're kind of questioning what's going on. But it was a really interesting first book to open up the world of the Countess of Harley. And the second book was just as interesting, and it deals with Lucy. Lucy is Francis's sister, and she comes to visit in the second book. And her mom is like, Francis and Lucy's mom is like really obsessed. Oh my gosh, is her name Lucy or Lily? Oh no, I think it's not Lucy. I think it's Lily. My bad. Don't disregard what I just said. It's Lily. Pretty sure her name's Lily, not Lucy. But, close enough, right? But anyway, Lily is coming to society. She's like 18, I think. And their mom is like obsessed with wanting her daughters to have like a title so they can have like status in the British society for some reason. So her mom sends Lily off to go be with Francis, and Francis has to like present her to society. And this book is also interesting because some of the suitors that Lily gets introduced to are like criminals, and one of them, I think the main thing with this one is one of the suitors was a murderer, but we didn't know which one. And it was one of the ones that, oh, I know, he pretended to be someone he's not, and he like killed this lord and took his name and took his title. So it's like identity theft in the 1800s, which I thought was kind of cool. So yeah, he starts to court Lily, and I think they almost get married, but Francis is like, no, wait, stop. You're a criminal. And she reveals him to be this bad person, and it's kind of like Scooby-Doo a little bit, where it's like, you unmask the murderer, and I was like, it was you all along. And it's kind of funny. The second book was funny. So this whole book series does not take itself seriously whatsoever. So that's the main theme. So Lily ends up marrying this other suitor whose name is Leo, and oh my gosh, it's weird that she gets married so young. But honestly, the 1800s are such a wild time that it just makes sense, because everyone in the Bridgerton series was super young too, and they got married right away. So I kind of just am used to it at this point. But yeah, so at the end of that book, Lily gets engaged to Leo, who is not a criminal, and that's where the second book ends. And then the third book, I feel like the third book was kind of boring. It was either the second or the third book that was boring, but one of them was boring. Nothing really too interesting happened. I think it was someone was blackmailing their brother-in-law. It was one of Francis's friends, Mary Archer, and it was like a lady's guide to gossip and murder. That it was very forgettable to me. Like, that was the one book where I was like, I literally don't care like anything that's going on right now. Like, can we just get to the part where Lily gets married? Like, that's all I care about, honestly. But I can't remember if that was the second book or the third book. I'm pretty sure it was the third book. But I'd have to look at my notes, because my notes are on my phone, and I can't use my phone because I'm using it to record. But yeah, so one of those books, it would be okay if you didn't listen to it, because it's very forgettable and it's not very interesting. But overall, the storyline is pretty, I'd say it has a lot to offer. So once Leo and Lily get engaged, they kind of get married quickly in the other books, because Lily gets pregnant and she has to marry quickly because it might cause a scandal that she's so young and unmarried. even though she's with her fiance. But whatever, British society is weird. So yeah, they have to marry quickly, and that their wedding was kind of hectic. And because her mom comes into town and they don't know she's pregnant, her dad is also there and he doesn't know if she's pregnant. And I forget who gets murdered in that one, but it was like a weird murder. And but yeah, Lily and Leo end up getting married, and then I don't know, I don't think we hear from them for a little bit after that, because they go on their wedding trip, and I don't remember, I don't think they had their baby yet, now that I'm thinking about it, because I listened to the whole book series up until book 6, because books 1 through 5 are available, and I think 6 and 7 you have to use a credit for, but there might be more books with it too. But yeah, I don't know if they had their baby or not. I feel like that was a little bit of a plot hole that happened, but I'm assuming they had their baby. They just didn't talk about it. But so after that, Frances and George, their relationship gets kind of heated up, and they like each other from the very beginning of this book series, which is weird to me. But so yeah, they end up getting engaged in like the 4th and the 5th book, and they keep it a secret in the 4th book, I think, because they're trying to get Lily and Leo married off and stuff, so they don't want to outshine them, I think is what the reasoning was. But yeah, one of the servants gets murdered or something like that, and they have to keep their courtship and fiancé-ship a secret. Engagement, my god, words are like failing me right now. I don't understand why. I'm so sorry. But yeah, they have to keep their engagement like a secret for a little bit. And Frances's mom is kind of being a snob towards George because, plot twist, I guess George wanted to court Frances like 10 years ago before she married her first husband, but she wasn't able to because her mom had told George, get away from my daughter. It was basically that meme like, stay away from her, get a job, that kind of thing. But Frances would have really liked to be with George at that time. So honestly, it was kind of weird that her mom had said that. But yeah, whatever. So George and Frances were always meant to be together, I guess. But they just weren't. They were parted by fate, and they got brought back together by fate. And it's very dramatic, and it doesn't take itself seriously whatsoever. Like, this whole book series, when I'm explaining it like this, it sounds like a joke. Like, it really does. But I promise you, it's actually really good. It's really funny. I was laughing out loud at some parts. I'm sure some people at work were like, what are you listening to now? But yeah, nobody questions what I listen to at work, so they probably don't know that I'm listening to audiobooks. But, so yeah, George and Frances, their engagement is secret while Lily and Leo are getting married. And then in the 5th and final book that I had listened to, George and Frances finally get married. That book was a doozy because it was like plot twist after plot twist after plot twist. And I was like, so many plot twists, I couldn't keep my head straight about it. So like there's these feuding families in George and Frances's wedding book. And one of the dads dies, and then another person dies, and then they're blaming Frances's brother, Alonzo, because Alonzo wants to court the daughter of Connor. I can't remember his first name, but their last name is Connor. He wants to court Madeline Connor, but her dad wanted her to be with this Viscount, but the Viscount was actually the crazy one, because the Viscount is the one who murdered the dad, Madeline's dad, which I thought was crazy. And then he murdered his own dad. And I'm like, bro, what's going on? I did not see that coming, like, whatsoever. So, like, the 5th book was crazy. There was a lot going on in the 5th book, because it's like you got the feuding families, you have George and Frances getting married, and then you had this weird side plot with, like, Frances's dad and Frances's mom. Like, they had this weird argument about nothing. Like, Frances's mom thought her dad was cheating on her, I guess. Frances's dad is named Frankie, and I can't remember what her mom's name is, but her mom had told Frances that she thinks Frankie is cheating on her, and I thought that was crazy. Like, why would... He seemed like a good guy. He seemed decent. But I thought her mom was cheating on her dad because her mom has this friendship with the other person. The feuding families are Connor and the Bainbridges. I'm sorry if this video is confusing. I feel like I'm losing my train of thought a little bit. But, so yeah, the gist of it is the Connors and the Bainbridges are these families, and they're feuding. And Francis's mom is friends with Mr. Bainbridge, which I thought was suspicious. Like, why are you friends with him? And why are you not telling your husband about it? Because Frances thought Mr. Bainbridge and her mom were having an affair, and I totally thought that too, because it seems weird to be friends with people and not tell your spouse about it. That's like red flag number 1. And then she's over here thinking that her husband's cheating on her, and I'm just like, where'd that even come from? So that was kind of a weird side plot in the book. So it was like 3 different stories in one, basically. Because, like, you have Frances and George getting married. You have these families feuding. You have the parents, like, on a different wavelength together. But it all ends up happily. And so, yeah, that's where the series ends for me. It ends with Frances and George getting married. And then I think the 6th book is just, like, a continuation of their married life. And they're obviously dealing with more murders. And this book series is so convoluted. And at times it seems confusing. Even explaining it is definitely confusing. But overall, I would give this book series like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Like, I enjoyed it, but it's okay. It's like middle ground. It was like middle of the road. Like, there were some books that were 5-star, and there were some books that were 3-star. And then the one boring book, that was a 3-star to me. And the last book was a 5-star because it was just so exciting. But overall, this book series, I would recommend it. If you want something that's like super lighthearted and like not serious and has good sense of humor and is like feels satirical at times, I would totally recommend this book. It's very fun. I was like half paying attention to it most of the time, and I still got the gist of it, even though it is kind of confusing. So I think if you like fully were paying attention, you might like it a little bit better than I did. But it was just something nice to listen to at work. It was like a good, relaxing, fluffy murder mystery type of thing. But yeah, so that's that book series. And it is on Audible. And I don't know how long it's available on Audible for free. It didn't really say when it was going to end. But I listened to it in February, so I'm assuming it's probably not going to be included for much longer. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on that, and thank you for your continued support. Thank you for subscribing and liking my videos, and I hope to chat with you guys in the comments more. I would love to interact with you and to hear your thoughts on everything that I've said so far, or just have a random conversation about books, because that's what I'm here for. Or if you want to talk about Hello Kitty Island Adventure too, I'm here for that too. Because I love me my Sanrio babies. Because I have Mocha with me, as you saw. If you could see her. I've been holding her this whole time. But yeah, so thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, friends!